I saw his phone light up on the nightstand. Her name wasn't saved. Just a number. But the message preview stayed long enough. Don't come. I was already in the driveway. The porch light was on. He always left it on for me. I didn't turn off the engine right away. I watched the house like it might explain itself. Same siding we chose together. Same mailbox he repainted last spring. Nothing looked different. That was the first thing that felt wrong. I picked up my phone. The full message was there now. Don't come, it's not a good time. No punctuation. No explanation. Just instruction. I read it twice. Then a third time. I didn't reply. I stepped out of the car and locked it like I always did. 2 clicks. Habit is louder than panic. The front door wasn't locked. It never was when he was home. I pushed it open slowly. The house smelled like laundry detergent and something sweeter. Not mine. Not ours. I set my keys in the bowl by the door. They made a soft ceramic sound. That felt too loud. I waited. Nothing. No voices. No television. No footsteps. Just the hum of the refrigerator down the hall. I walked past the living room. His jacket was draped over the couch. The one I bought him last Christmas. Still folded the way I had shown him. I almost smiled. Then I didn't. The bedroom door was half open. That stopped me. Not fear. Recognition. Something inside me already knew. I stood there for a moment. My hand rested lightly on the doorframe. I didn't push it right away. I listened. A soft sound. Movement. Sheets. I opened the door. They didn't notice me at first. That surprised me. Not because of what they were doing, but because of how comfortable it looked. Routine. Like they had done this before. He turned his head first. His face changed in small steps. Recognition. Pause. Calculation. Then something like inconvenience. Not guilt. Never guilt. She sat up quickly. Pulled the sheet to her chest. Her hair was messy in a way that looked intentional. She looked at me like she was trying to understand the situation. Like I was the unexpected variable. No one spoke. I stood there. I didn't ask who she was. I didn't ask how long. I didn't ask anything. Because the answers were already in the room. He opened his mouth. Closed it again. Then he reached for his phone on the nightstand. The same phone that had just told me not to come. I watched him pick it up. That detail mattered more than anything else. He didn't reach for me. He reached for the device that managed me. I nodded once. Not to them. To myself. I stepped back and pulled the door closed. Gently. The latch clicked into place like it always did. I stood in the hallway for a second. My breathing stayed even. That surprised me. I walked into the closet. My side was still organized. Color-coded? Seasonal. He never touched my side. That was our agreement. I took one small suitcase from the shelf. The one we used for weekend trips. I placed it on the bed. I folded clothes. 2 shirts. 1 pair of jeans. Underwear. Toiletries. Nothing sentimental. Nothing that required thought. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. I didn't take it off dramatically. I just slid it off and placed it next to my watch. Aligned. Parallel. Like I always did. I closed the suitcase. Zipped it halfway. Paused. Then zipped it fully. I picked it up and walked out. The bedroom door stayed closed. No one came out. No one called my name. That was the second thing that felt wrong. I passed the kitchen. The coffee maker was still set for morning. 6:30 a.m. I turned it off. I don't know why. I just did. I picked up my keys again. Same bowl. Same soft ceramic sound. This time it didn't feel loud. It felt final. I stepped outside and locked the door behind me. 1 click. I didn't look back. I placed the suitcase in the passenger seat. Sat down. Closed the door. My hands rested on the steering wheel. 10 and 2. Like they taught us in driver's ed. I stared straight ahead. The porch light stayed on. I didn't turn it off. I started the engine. Backed out slowly. The tires rolled over the same crack in the driveway. I knew the exact sound it made. I drove without direction at first. Left turn. Right turn. Then another. The streets looked familiar until they didn't. I passed the grocery store. The one where we argued about coupons. I passed the church. The one where people still asked about our anniversary. I kept driving. My phone buzzed once. I didn't look at it. It buzzed again, then stopped. I turned onto a quieter road. Trees lined both sides. Streetlights spaced too far apart. My headlights filled the gaps. I pulled over. Parked. Turned off the engine. Silence. Real silence. I looked at my phone. 3 messages, all from him. I didn't open them. Instead, I opened my email. There was one from earlier that day. Subject line live-in caregiver position, immediate opening. I remembered applying weeks ago, on a night when things already felt off. I opened it. They needed someone that night. Emergency placement. Private home. Retired military. Limited mobility. Quiet environment. I stared at the address. It wasn't far. I read the last line again. Room and board included. I exhaled slowly. Then I hit reply. Available tonight? I didn't think about it. Thinking would have required a version of me that still existed. I started the car again. Followed the GPS. Turn by turn. No hesitation. The house was larger than ours. Not extravagant. Just established. The kind of place that held history. I parked in front. Turned off the engine. Sat there for a moment. My phone buzzed again. I turned it face down. I picked up my suitcase. Walked to the front door. Knocked once. A woman in scrubs opened it. Mid-40s. Tired eyes. Efficient posture. You must be her, she said. I nodded. She stepped aside. Come in. I walked past her. The air inside was still. Not empty. Just quiet in a different way. She gestured down the hallway. He's in the living room, she said. He doesn't speak. I nodded again. That's fine, I said. My voice sounded normal. That surprised me. She looked at me for a second longer. Then she nodded back. Good, she said. I set my suitcase down by the wall. Took a breath. Then I walked toward the living room. I didn't know yet what I would find. I only knew one thing. I wasn't going back. He was sitting by the window. That was the first thing I noticed. Not the chair, not the machines, the window. It faced the backyard. Neatly trimmed grass, a flag on a short pole. Faded slightly at the edges. He didn't turn when I entered. His posture was upright. Too upright for comfort. Like someone had arranged him that way. A blanket rested across his legs. Military green. Folded precisely at the corners. The woman in scrubs stepped beside me. That's him, she said quietly. I nodded. She lowered her voice even more. Decorated, she added. Like that explained everything. Maybe it did. I stepped closer. His eyes were open. Focused. Not on me. On something outside. Or maybe just through it. General Hayes, she said a little louder. No response. Not even a blink. She turned to me. Routine is everything, she said. Meals at 7, noon, and 6. Medication chart is in the kitchen. Physical therapist comes twice a week. She spoke quickly. Efficient. Like she'd said this many times before. I followed her into the kitchen. Everything was labeled. Cabinets. Drawers. Even the refrigerator shelves. Top shelf breakfast. Middle lunch. Bottom dinner. Each container dated. Stacked. Order over emotion. I understood that. She handed me a printed schedule. Try to keep things the same, she said. He responds better that way. Responds. I didn't ask how. She watched me scan the page. You'll sleep in the guest room, she added. Down the hall. I nodded. Family, I asked. The word came out before I could stop it. She hesitated. A brief pause. They're not involved, she said. Neutral tone. But not indifferent. That told me enough. She checked her watch. "I'm heading out," she said. "You'll be fine." Not a question. A statement. She picked up her bag, moved toward the door, then stopped. Turned back. "If anything feels unusual," she said, "just make a note." Unusual. I almost asked what that meant, but I didn't. "I will," I said. She nodded once. Then she left. The door closed behind her. Soft. Final. I stood in the kitchen for a moment, holding the schedule, listening to the quiet. Different from my house. There, silence had been filled with expectation. Here it was, contained. Purposeful. I set the paper down. Walked back to the living room. He hadn't moved. Same posture. Same gaze. I stepped closer. Careful. Respectful. Like approaching something fragile. Or important. "Hi," I said. My voice sounded small in the room. No reaction. I adjusted the blanket slightly. Smoothed the edge. His hands rested on top. Still. Veins visible beneath the skin. Age. History. I looked at his face. Strong lines. Set jaw. The kind of face people followed. Once. Now it just stayed. I walked around the chair. Checked the side table. Water glass. Medication. A small framed photo. I picked it up. Him. Younger. In uniform. Standing tall. A woman beside him. Elegant. Smiling. 2 children in front. A boy and a girl. Everyone looking directly at the camera. Everyone connected. I set the photo back down. Exactly where it had been. Same angle. Same distance from the edge. I wasn't sure why that mattered. But it did. I moved to the window. Stood beside him. Looked out. The yard was quiet. Still. Nothing behind me. Nothing unusual. Just the reflection of the room in the glass. And him. And me. Standing. Then sitting. I pulled a chair closer. Sat down beside him. Not too close. Not too far. A careful distance. "I'll be here tonight," I said. I didn't expect an answer. I wasn't asking for one. I just said it. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Measured. Steady. Time felt different here. Less urgent. More observed. I checked the schedule again. Dinner at 6. It was almost time. I stood. Went to the kitchen. Followed the instructions exactly. Heat for 2 minutes. Stir. Heat again. Precision mattered here. I brought the tray back. Set it on the table. Adjusted his chair slightly. Lifted the spoon. Careful. Slow. He swallowed. Reflex. Or something else. I continued. 1 spoonful at a time. No rush. No conversation. Just rhythm. Task. Completion. When I finished, I wiped his mouth gently. Folded the napkin. Placed it beside the plate. Aligned. Everything aligned. I cleaned the dishes. Put them away. Checked the medication chart. Administered exactly as instructed. No deviation. Control felt necessary. Not for him. For me. I returned to the living room. Sat down again. Same chair. Same distance. The light outside had shifted. Darker now. The yard fading into shadow. The window reflecting more of the room. More of me. I watched his face. Still. Unchanged. Then, a movement. Small. Almost nothing. His mouth. The corner. It lifted. Just slightly. A smile. I froze. My hand rested on my knee. I didn't move. Didn't speak. I waited. His eyes shifted. Not toward me. Past me. Focused. Intent. On something behind me. The air in the room felt different. Not colder. Not warmer. Just aware. I turned slowly. Carefully. Nothing. Just the hallway. The same hallway I had walked through. Empty. Still. I turned back. The smile was gone. His face had returned to neutral. as if it had never happened. I sat there, processing, replaying. Was it a reflex? A muscle twitch? The nurse's voice echoed in my head. If anything feels unusual. I looked at him again. Longer this time. Searching. For something. Anything. He didn't move. Didn't react. Just sat. Like before. Like always. I stood up slowly. Walked to the kitchen. Picked up a pen. Wrote on the schedule. 8:12 p.m. Slight smile observed. My handwriting was steady. That surprised me. I placed the paper back. Exactly where it had been. I returned to the living room. But I didn't sit this time. I stood behind him. In the same position he had been looking. I stared at the hallway. At the empty space. At nothing. And waited. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was afraid. Because I was listening. Every house has a sound pattern. Pipes. Floorboards. Air vents shifting pressure. This one was quieter than most. But not silent. Nothing ever is. I lay in the guest bed. Hands folded over my stomach. Eyes open in the dark. Replaying the smile. The direction of his gaze. Behind me. Always behind me. At some point I must have slept. Because I woke to light through the curtains. Soft. Early. I checked the time. 6:07 a.m. 3 minutes before the schedule began. I got up. Made the bed. Corners tight. Habit again. I walked into the kitchen. Started the coffee. Measured. Exact. The machine hummed to life. A normal sound. Grounding. I stood there until it finished. Then poured 1 cup. Black. I didn't drink it right away. I carried it into the living room. He was already awake. Same position. Same posture. Same gaze. Nothing had changed. Except the light. Morning made everything look more reasonable. Less questionable. I stepped closer. Good morning, I said. My voice felt more anchored today. Still no response. I set the coffee on the side table. Out of his reach. Not for him. For me. I checked the blanket. Adjusted the corner. The same motion as last night. He didn't react. I moved to the window. Looked outside. Same yard. Same flag. Still. I turned back. Watched his face. Carefully. Looking for any sign. Nothing. I exhaled slowly. Maybe it had been nothing. That thought felt convenient. I went through the morning routine. Breakfast at 7. Same process. Same precision. He swallowed. Same rhythm. Afterward, I cleaned the dishes. Wiped the counters. Checked the medication chart. Administered on time. Everything exactly as written. Control again. The clock moved forward. Hour by hour. I stayed in the room most of the time. Not because I had to. Because leaving felt wrong. Around mid-morning, someone knocked. 2 short taps. Then 1. A pattern. I opened the door. A man stood there. Late 50s. Well-dressed. Neutral expression. Caregiver, he asked. Yes, I said. He nodded. I'm Mr. Dalton, financial advisor. He stepped inside without waiting. Familiar? Like he had the right. Maybe he did. He walked straight to the living room. Stopped a few feet from the chair. General, he said. Polite, but not warm. No response. Of course. Mr. Dalton didn't wait for one. He turned to me. I come once a month, he said. Review accounts, maintain structure. Structure. That word again. I nodded. He glanced at the side table. At the photo. Then back at me. You're new, he said. Yes. How is he? The question felt procedural. Stable, I said. He accepted that. No follow-up. He opened his briefcase. Removed a folder. Sat at the dining table. Spread papers out. Numbers. Statements. I watched from a distance. He worked quietly. Efficient. Focused. After a few minutes, he spoke again. Family hasn't visited in years, he said. Not looking at me. Not really talking to me either. Just stating. I didn't respond. He continued. Everything is managed through trusts now. A pause. Cleaner that way. Cleaner. I looked at the general. Still. Unchanged. Mr. Dalton packed up after about 30 minutes. Closed the folder. Locked the briefcase. Stood. I'll return next month, he said. He moved toward the door. Then stopped. Turned slightly. If he shows signs of awareness, he said, note it. The same word again. Awareness. Not feeling. Not emotion. Awareness. I will, I said. He nodded. Then left. The door closed. Same soft finality. I stood there for a moment. Then walked back to the living room. Sat down. Same chair. Same distance. The room felt different now. Not because of him. Because of what had been said. Or not said. I looked at the photo again. The family. Frozen in time. Connected. Before whatever had happened. I leaned forward. Studied the woman's face. Composed. Controlled. The children. Straight posture. Careful smiles. I sat back. Something about it felt familiar. Not the people. The arrangement. The expectation. I turned toward him. Did they leave, I said quietly, or were they already gone? No answer. Of course. I wasn't really asking him. I was asking the room. The house. Maybe myself. The afternoon passed slowly. Routine again. Lunch at noon. Same process. Same outcome. No variation. At one point, I stepped into the hallway. Just for a moment. To get a different perspective. I stood there. Looked toward the living room. At him. At the chair. At the window. Then, I saw it. His face. From this angle. The corner of his mouth. It moved. A shift. Small, but deliberate. A smile. Again. I froze. My hand rested against the wall. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I stepped forward slowly. Back into the room. His eyes were fixed. Not on me. Not on the window. On the space where I had just been standing. The hallway. Behind me. I turned quickly this time. Nothing. Same empty space. Same stillness. I turned back. The smile lingered for a second longer. Then faded. Gone. Like it had never been there. I walked to the kitchen. Faster than before. Picked up the pen. Wrote again. 1:37 p.m. repeated smile when not directly observed. My handwriting was tighter this time. More controlled? I set the pen down. Returned to the living room. But I didn't sit. Not immediately. I stood in front of him. Directly in his line of sight. Waited. Nothing. No movement. No expression. Then I stepped to the side. Out of his direct view. And watched. A few seconds passed. Then, there it was. The smile. Faint. But real. I stepped back in front. It disappeared. I stepped aside again. It returned. My chest tightened. Not fear. Recognition. Pattern. I stood there. Testing it. Once more. In. Neutral. Out. Smile. I stopped. Backed away slowly. Sat down. Hands resting in my lap. Still. He wasn't reacting to me. He was reacting to something else. Something positioned behind where I stood. Or had stood. I looked toward the hallway again. Longer this time. Trying to see what he saw. Or thought he saw. The air felt the same. The space unchanged. But the meaning had shifted. I leaned back in the chair. Exhaled slowly. And for the first time since I arrived, I didn't feel alone in the room, the drawer stuck halfway. I pulled it gently. Then a little harder. It gave with a soft release. Inside were envelopes. Neatly stacked. Bound with a rubber band that had dried and cracked. I hadn't meant to go through his things. I was looking for the medication log. That's what I told myself. The log was there. On top. Clean. Updated. Precise. Under it, history. I paused. My hand hovered. Then I picked up the stack. The first envelope was addressed in a careful, practiced hand. Dad. No rank. No title. Just Dad. The return address was out of state. Dated 5 years ago. I slid the letter out. The paper was folded twice. I unfolded it slowly. Short sentences. Measured. Like someone trying not to say too much. We're doing well. The kids are in school now. I hope you're taking your medication. A pause in the writing. Then, we won't be visiting this year. No explanation. No apology. Just a boundary. I folded it back along the same lines, placed it beside me, picked up the next one. Different handwriting. Sharper. Less careful. I tried calling again. You don't answer. I don't know what you expect from us anymore. Another pause. Then, you were always more comfortable giving orders than listening. I stopped reading. That line stayed with me. I placed the letter down. Looked at him. Same posture. Same stillness. I tried to imagine him speaking. Commanding. Directing. Being obeyed. It fit. Too well. I picked up another envelope. Unopened. The seal intact. Dated 2 years ago. I turned it over. Same return address as the first. I didn't open it. Some things don't need confirmation. I placed the stack back in the drawer. Aligned. Exactly as I found them. Closed it. The soft click sounded louder this time. I stood there for a moment, then walked back to the living room. He hadn't moved. Of course. I sat down. Same chair. Same distance. But something had shifted. Not in the room. In the way I saw it. The photo on the side table. I picked it up again. Looked at each face more carefully. The woman. Her smile was composed. Not relaxed. The children. Close together. But not touching him. Small details. Easy to miss. Unless you were looking for them. I set the photo down. This time I didn't adjust the angle. I left it slightly off. A few degrees. Barely noticeable. But different. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Persistent. I picked it up. His name filled the screen. 5 missed calls. 3 messages. I opened the last one. We need to talk. I stared at the words. Then scrolled up. Where did you go? Another. This isn't what you think. And the first? Don't come. I looked at that one the longest. Then I locked the screen. Set the phone face down. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The conversation had already happened. Just not out loud. I leaned back in the chair. Closed my eyes for a second. Then opened them. The room looked the same. But it felt clearer. I turned toward him. Did you know? I asked quietly. No response. I nodded to myself. You probably did, I said. Just not in time. The words settled in the space between us. I wasn't really talking to him. I was tracing a pattern. One that stretched across years. Across houses. Across different lives. Control. Distance. Silence. I stood up. Walked to the window. Looked out. The flag moved slightly in the breeze. Barely. I placed my hand on the glass. Cool. Solid. Reliable. Unlike everything else. My phone buzzed again. I didn't turn around. I let it ring. Then stop. Then ring again. Finally, I picked it up. Answered. I didn't say anything. He spoke first. Where are you? His voice sounded smaller. Less certain. I didn't answer. I came home and you were gone, he said. A pause. I thought you'd be back by now. I leaned against the wall. Held the phone a little farther from my ear. I'm not coming back, I said. My voice was steady. Even. No emphasis. Silence on the other end. Then, so that's it, he asked. Not angry. Not yet. Just confused. I didn't answer right away. I looked at the general, at the chair, at the stillness. That was it, I said. Another pause. Longer this time. You're overreacting, he said. There it was. Familiar. Predictable. I closed my eyes briefly, then opened them. No, I said. I'm not reacting at all. He exhaled sharply. You didn't even let me explain. I shifted my weight. Stood up straight. You told me not to come, I said. I listened. Silence. Then, that's not what I meant, he said. Of course it wasn't. I didn't respond. I was going to tell you, he added. Eventually. Later. When it was convenient. I could hear it in the space between his words. I know, I said. And I did. That was the problem. Another pause. Then his tone changed. Softer. Careful. Where are you staying, he asked. Concerned now. Or something that sounded like it. I'm working, I said. That was all. He waited. For more. I didn't give it. With who, he asked. I looked at the general again. At someone who doesn't talk, I said. The words surprised me. But they felt right. He didn't understand them. I could hear that. What does that mean, he asked. It means I'm not coming back, I said. I ended the call. Not abruptly. Just finished. I placed the phone on the table. Face down again. I sat back in the chair. Exhaled slowly. The room felt different. Lighter. Not because anything had been fixed. Because something had been decided. I looked at the general. You lost them slowly, I said. Did you notice? His face didn't change. But I didn't expect it to. I stood up. Walked behind his chair. To the spot. The one he had been looking at. The hallway. I stood there. Still. Waiting. And then, from this angle, I saw it. His reflection. In the glass of a framed picture on the wall. Subtle. Faint. But clear enough. The corner of his mouth. Lifting. A smile. Not for me. Not for the room. For the space where I had been sitting. Where I had been silent. I stepped back into view. The reflection flattened. Neutral again. I stood there. Processing. Not fear. Not confusion. Recognition. He wasn't reacting to presence. He was reacting to absence. I walked back to the chair. Sat down slowly. Hands resting in my lap. Still. Quiet. And for the first time, I understood something I couldn't unsee. Some people only reveal themselves. When you stop being there, I stopped checking my phone. Not as a rule. More like a quiet decision that settled in. It stayed on the table. Face down. Where it belonged. The house had its own rhythm. Morning. Meals. Medication. Silence. It didn't ask anything from me beyond presence. That felt clean. I followed the schedule. But I stopped moving like I was being observed. No more overcorrection. No more perfect alignment for its own sake. I still folded the blanket. But not with military precision. Just enough. I still placed the utensils. But not parallel. Close. Not exact. The difference was small. But it was mine. I sat beside him longer. Not filling the space. Just sitting in it. At first I didn't speak. Then one afternoon I did. I didn't say anything that night, I said. My voice sounded different here. Lower. Less careful. I thought that meant I was strong. I looked at his hands. Still. Resting on the blanket. I think it just meant I was used to being quiet. The words stayed in the room. No response. No reaction. But something shifted. Not in him. In me. I leaned back in the chair. Let my shoulders drop. For the first time in a long time. I wasn't performing composure. I just had it. That evening while preparing dinner I noticed something. A small notebook near the sink. Worn edges. Pages slightly curled. I opened it. Not a journal. A log. Dates. Times. Short notes. Written by previous caregivers. Fed without issue. Medication administered. Stable. Then. Occasional deviations. Eye movement increased today. Brief vocal attempt. Unusual expression observed. No elaboration. No interpretation. Just record. I turned the page. Months back. Then years. Same pattern. Observation without meaning. Presence without connection. I closed the notebook. Set it back. Aligned. Then paused. Shifted it slightly to the left. Just enough to notice. I carried dinner into the living room. Same routine. Same pace. But this time I spoke. You had a family, I said. Simple. Direct. No accusation. He swallowed. Reflex. Or something else. They stopped coming, I continued. I read the letters. I watched his face. Nothing. Still. But I kept going. I think you thought they would stay anyway. A pause. I did too. The room held the words. Didn't reject them. Didn't soften them. Just held them. After dinner, I didn't rush to clean up. I sat down again. Looked at the window. The reflection showed both of us. Still. But not the same. I keep thinking about what you saw, I said quietly. When you smiled. I stood. Moved behind his chair. To that spot. The hallway. I stayed there. Waited. Seconds passed. Then, the shift. Subtle. But familiar now. The corner of his mouth lifted. That same faint smile. I didn't move. Didn't interrupt it. I let it exist. Then I spoke. From behind him. You're not looking at someone, I said. You're reacting to space. The words felt right. Not certain. But closer. I stepped forward again. Into his view. The smile faded. Neutral. Predictable. I nodded slowly. As if confirming something. Not about him. About myself. That night I took my phone to the bedroom. Not to check messages. To delete them. One by one. Without opening. Without rereading. Just removing. The thread disappeared. Clean. No archive. No backup. I placed the phone on the nightstand. Face up this time. It didn't buzz. I turned off the light. Lay down. Closed my eyes. Sleep came easier. Not because things were resolved. Because they were no longer waiting. The next morning I changed something. Small. Intentional. I moved the chair. Not far. Just a few inches. Closer to his. The distance between us shifted. He didn't react. Of course. But I did. I sat down. Looked at him. You don't talk, I said. But you're still here. A pause. So am I. I reached for the photo on the table. The one with his family. I looked at it again. Then I set it down. But not in the same place. Closer to him. Within his line of sight. Even if he couldn't see it. The gesture mattered. Later that afternoon, someone from the church stopped by. A woman in her 60s. Soft voice. Firm posture. I used to see him on Sundays, she said. Standing in the doorway. He sat in the front row. I nodded. She stepped inside. Looked at him. For a long moment. He always looked certain, she said. Then she looked at me. How is he now? The same question. Different weight. Present, I said. She considered that. Then nodded. That's something she said. She placed a small card on the table. A scripture. Printed neatly. She didn't read it aloud. She didn't need to. I'll stop by again, she said. Not a promise. Just a possibility. After she left, I picked up the card. Read it silently. Then set it down. Not aligned. Not centered. Just there. That evening I sat beside him again. Closer now. Not careful about the space. Just occupying it. I used to wait for him to notice me, I said. Quiet. I thought if I stayed long enough he would. I looked at his face. Still. But no longer distant. Just quiet. I don't think I need that anymore, I said. The words settled differently this time. Not heavy. Not defensive. Just true. I leaned back, closed my eyes for a moment, then opened them, and realized, for the first time, I wasn't trying to be seen. I was already there. The change was small. So small it could have been dismissed. But it wasn't. It happened during breakfast. Same routine. Same pace. I lifted the spoon. He swallowed. Then paused. A fraction longer than usual. His throat moved again. Not reflex. Adjustment. I waited. Held the spoon midair. He didn't resist. Didn't accept. Just paused. Then continued. I finished feeding him. Wiped his mouth. Set the napkin down. But this time I didn't move away right after. I watched. Carefully. His breathing had shifted. Slightly deeper. More measured. Like someone settling into a chair. Not being placed in one. I noted the time. Didn't write it down yet. I just remembered it. The physical therapist arrived mid-morning. A younger man. Confident. Efficient. Let's see what we've got today, he said. Bright tone. Professional optimism. He moved the chair slightly. Checked the joints. Lifted the arms. Rotated the shoulders. Routine. Expected. Then he paused. Did you adjust his position recently, he asked. I stood by the wall. I moved the chair a little, I said. He nodded slowly. Good, he said. Sometimes small changes wake things up. Wake things up. I watched him more closely after that. He guided the general through the exercises. Measured. Counted softly. 3, 4, hold. Then. Did you see that, he said suddenly. I stepped closer. What I asked. He pointed. His fingers, he said. A slight movement. Barely visible. But real. Not random. Not entirely. The therapist smiled. Progress, he said. Clinical. Contained. But still progress. He wrote notes on his tablet. Packed up. Keep doing what you're doing, he said. That consistency matters. Consistency. Another word that had followed me here. But it meant something different now. After he left the house felt responsive. Not active. Not alive in the way people expect. But aware. I sat down beside him. Closer than before. Our shoulders almost aligned. I think you heard that, I said. Quiet. Not expecting an answer. But I think it mattered. I reached for the notebook in the kitchen. Opened it. Turned to a new page. I wrote, Finger movement observed during therapy, not reflex. Then I paused. Added, Possible response to positional change. I looked at the words. Then crossed out possible. Rewrote it. Response to positional change. No hesitation. No softening. I closed the notebook. Didn't align it this time. Just left it slightly open. That afternoon my phone rang. A number I recognized. I let it ring twice. Then answered. I didn't think you'd pick up, he said. His voice had changed. Not weaker. Just less certain. I didn't either, I said. Silence. Then, I've been thinking, he said. I didn't respond. I handled that wrong, he added. Careful. Measured. Like he was testing the words. I leaned back in the chair. Looked at the window. I know, I said. No accusation. Just acknowledgement. Another pause. I didn't think you'd actually leave, he said. There it was. The center of it. Expectation. Assumption. I watched the reflection in the glass. My outline. His outline. Separate. I know, I said again. He exhaled. You could have said something, he added. I turned slightly. Faced the room. I did, I said. When I left. Silence. Longer this time. He didn't interrupt it. Didn't fill it. That was new. I didn't understand that he said finally. I know, I said. I stood up. Walked behind the chair. To that space again. The hallway. I stayed there. Phone still at my ear. You're quiet now, he said. Are you still there? Yes, I said. Just standing somewhere different. He didn't understand that either. But he didn't ask. "I'm not asking you to come back," he said. That surprised me. A small shift. But real. I just wanted to say that. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. "I heard you," I said. That was enough. I ended the call. Not abruptly. Just finished. I stood there a moment longer. Behind the chair. Then, the movement. Familiar now. The smile. But different. Softer. Less sharp. I stepped forward. Into view. It didn't disappear immediately. It lingered. Half a second longer than before. Then faded. I sat down again. Closer. This time our shoulders almost touched. "I think you're learning something," I said. Quiet. Or maybe I am. I looked at his hands. Resting. But not as rigid. The fingers slightly curved. Natural. Not placed. I reached out. Adjusted the blanket. But I didn't smooth it perfectly. I left a small fold. Visible. Intentional. That evening I moved the photo again. The family one. I turned it slightly toward him. Then I placed another object beside it. The church card. Not aligned. Not centered. Just present. I stepped back. Looked at the table. Different now. Not ordered. But meaningful. I sat down. Watched him. Watched the room. Watched myself in the reflection. And realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for him. Not for the phone. Not for anything to return. Something had already shifted. And it didn't need permission. The house felt steady that morning. Not silent. Not tense. Just settled. Like something had found its place. I woke before the alarm. 6:02 a.m. The same light through the curtains. The same quiet in the hallway. But it didn't feel like something I had to adjust to anymore. It felt like something I belonged inside. I made the bed without thinking. Corners neat. Not perfect. Just enough. In the kitchen, I started the coffee. Measured. Familiar. The machine hummed. I leaned against the counter. Watched the steam rise. It didn't feel like routine. It felt like rhythm. I carried the cup into the living room. He was there. Same chair. Same window. But not the same. I could see it now. The difference wasn't movement. It was presence. I set the coffee down. Not aligned. Just placed. "Good morning," I said. My voice was calm. Not careful. He didn't respond. But I didn't expect him to. I sat down beside him. Close. No measured distance anymore. Just space shared. We stayed like that for a while. No need to fill it. The clock ticked. Soft. Consistent. I followed the morning routine. Breakfast. Medication. Small adjustments. Nothing forced. Nothing exact. Just done. When I finished, I didn't stand right away. I stayed in the chair. Looked at the window. The flag moved slightly. A little more than usual. There was wind today. I noticed things like that now. Small shifts. Subtle changes. They mattered. My phone was on the table. Face up. Quiet. It hadn't buzzed in 2 days. I picked it up. Not urgently. Just because it was there. One new message. His name. I opened it. No long explanation. No defense. Just one line. "I'm sorry." I read it once. Then again. The words didn't feel heavy. They didn't feel light either. They just were. I placed the phone back down. Didn't respond. Not yet. I looked at the general. At his hands. At the slight curve in his fingers. At the space between us that no longer felt measured. "I think that's enough," I said quietly. Not to him. Not really. To the moment. I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. Rinsed the cup. Set it in the sink. Left it there. Didn't align it with anything. Didn't fix the angle. Just left it. When I came back, something had changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly at first. But I felt it. I stepped closer, watched his face, carefully. Then, it happened. His eyes shifted. Not past me. Not through me. To me. Direct. Clear. Brief. But undeniable. I didn't move. Didn't speak. I just stayed. His gaze held for a second. Then softened. Drifted. But it had been there. Real. Present. I exhaled slowly. Sat down again. Closer. Not adjusting the distance. Just accepting it. I see you, I said. The words came without effort. Without weight. Just truth. I didn't need anything back. That was the difference. The room felt full. Not with sound. With meaning. Later that afternoon, I picked up my phone again. Opened the message. Typed slowly. Not searching for the right words. Just the honest ones. I'm okay. I paused. Then added, I won't be coming back. I read it once. No anger. No defense. Just clarity. I sent it. The message disappeared into the thread. No urgency. No expectation of reply. I set the phone down. Face up. And left it there. That evening I moved the chair again. Just a little. So we faced the window together. Not side by side. Not separate. Aligned. I adjusted the blanket. Left a fold. Visible. Intentional. I looked at the table. The photo. The card. Not centered. Not perfect. But meaningful. I sat down. Hands resting in my lap. Breathing steady. The light outside faded slowly. The room dimmed. Soft. Calm. I didn't turn on the lamp right away. I let the transition happen. Naturally. I thought about everything that had brought me here. Not in a long sequence. Just pieces. The driveway. The message. The door. The silence. The chair. The smile. And the space in between. That was where it had all changed. Not in the moments themselves, but in what I stopped doing inside them. I stopped waiting. I stopped explaining. I stopped adjusting myself to fit what wasn't there. I leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes for a second, then opened them. He was still there. So was I. That was enough. If you've ever stayed quiet in a moment that mattered, if you've ever thought silence would protect something already breaking, you're not alone. And you're not too late to choose differently. Even if it's quiet. Even if no one notices at first. It still changes everything.